स्वामिनि स्वामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees to our weekly Bhakti Vaibhav classes. So in the previous class, we have discussed from chapter 7 and chapter 8, wherein after his father, Lord Rishvadeva, taken to Vanaprastha order, traveled everywhere, lived like Avadut after he attained perfection, after his pastimes are over. Then how Bharata Maharaj ruled the kingdom, how he executed his time, how he performed his bhakti by performing various yajnas, and eventually giving the kingdom to his sons, how he went to Pulaha ashram and how he practiced his bhakti there, and also how out of his compassionate nature he became attracted to a helpless deer child, and he was taking care of the deer child. He kind of neglected his practice of bhakti. He eventually left his body remembering the deer. What will happen to the deer? Who will take care of the deer? Like that, concerned about the deer. As a result of that, he appeared as a deer, but he had full memory of the previous life. Since he had full memory of his previous life, he was completely regret. So he did not waste even one moment, even though he was born at some other place, Kulanjara area. But again, he came back to Pulaha ashram, where he was previously performing tapasya, and living in the midst of the sages, eating only dry grasses, drinking the water of the Gandaki river. In no time, he left his body. And then what happened is explained in the current chapter. So same deer appears as a boy in Brahmana family, whom we call Brahmana Bharata. Some places he is also called Jada Bharata. Actually, he is not Jada, but he behaved like Jada. So what is the reason and all we'll try to understand today. So, today we are beginning chapter 9. The supreme character of Jada Bharata, or Jada Bharata, is protected by Kali, Mother Kali. In the 9th chapter, Bharata is born in a Brahmana family, acts like a dull person, does not desire to take instructions on Gayatri, acts as a scarecrow, and gets offered to Mother Kali. So, what all happened in the life of Bharata Maharaj as he appeared as a Brahmana child is explained in this chapter. Small chapter, only 20 verses there are. The first two verses talks about in what kind of family he appeared. His family lineage, the glories of his family lineage, the greatness of his father are described. Yeah, please read some in the translation for the first two verses.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, after giving up the body of a deer, Bharata Maharaja took birth in a very pure Brahmana family. There was a Brahmana who belonged to the dynasty of Anigra. He was fully qualified with Brahminical qualifications. He could control his mind and senses, and he had studied the Vedic literatures and other subsidiary literatures. He was expert in giving charity, and he was always satisfied, tolerant, very gentle, learned, and non envious. He was self realized and engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He remained always in a trance. He had 9 equally qualified sons by his first wife, and by his second wife, he begot twins, a brother and a sister, of which the male child was said to be the topmost devotee and foremost of the saintly kings, Bharata Maharaja. This then is the story of the birth he took after giving up the body of a deer.
To a best of Brahmanas of the Angira line, who was endowed with mind and sense control, austerity, study of the Vedas, renunciation, satisfaction, tolerance, humility, knowledge, lack of envy, and bliss on realization of Atma, were born 9 sons, endowed with learning, conduct, beauty, and generous qualities, which was similar to that of their father. So, the glories of the father and the glories of the brothers are indicated. So he appeared in a Brahmana family which was coming in the lineage of Angira Rishi. Their Gotra is Angira Rishi. So what are the general qualities of a Brahmana? By what qualities a person is known as a Brahmana? First of all is Shama, sense control, Dhamma, mind control, Tapa, able to perform tapasya, austerity, Swadhyaya, Adhyayana, continuously engaged in Vedic study. Brahmana by nature who is continuously studying the Vedas and teaching the Vedas. Patan Patan should be the principal activity of a Brahmana. And also Tyaga should be always detached, not so much attached to material possessions. Santosha should be satisfied with what is by whatever he does. And Titiksha, one should be tolerant. And Prashraya, one should have humility. And then Vidya. So Brahmana by nature, by definition, is known as Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. He who knows Brahman is called Brahmana. So without that knowledge, one cannot be called as Brahmana. So that's why the knowledge is very important. Vidya means Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. Understanding of the absolute truth should be there. Otherwise, one is not called Brahmana. Anasuya, one should not be envious of others. And Atma Jnana Ananda. One is happiness is not in the material sense pleasure. The real happiness a Brahmana experiences is in Atma Jnana. The knowledge that one gains from Shastric study is the real happiness, the real source of happiness for the Brahmana. So these are some of the important qualities of a Brahmana. Sama, Dama, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Tyaga, Santosha, Titiksha, Prashraya, Vidya, Anasuya, Atma Jnana, Ananda. All these are the wonderful qualities of a Brahmana. Similarly, his 9 sons are also endowed with Shruta, Sheela, Achara, Rupa, Audarya, Guna. So, same knowledge, similar conduct, similar beauty, and similar culture and Guna qualities. So, the Brahmana had one wife, through that he had 9 sons, but eventually that wife died, so he married another woman. Through that woman, he had twin children. Among the twin children, one is boy, one is girl. The boy is Bharata. The Bharata, after leaving the body of a deer, appeared as the boy to this Brahmana, whose glories are sung in this verse. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, we study that when a transcendentalist performing sadhana, but did not complete the sadhana, what is the destiny of such a person? Like Arjuna asked in the 6th chapter, Aprapya yoga samsiddhim kamgatim Krishna gachati. Oh my dear Krishna, if somebody did not achieve yoga samsiddhi, the perfection of yoga, perfection of sadhana, what destiny one will attain? So in general, those who are practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, who did not complete their sadhana, what happens to them? Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Parthanaiveha Namutra Vinashastasya Vidyate. Nahi Kalyanakrit Kachit Durgatim Tata Gachati. My dear Arjuna, don't worry. Such a person does not meet destruction in this life or in the next life. Partha na iva iha na amutra. So na iha na amutra. Iha means in this life, amutra means in the next life. Such a person na vinashas tatya vidyate. Don't think that such a person attains destruction. No. If one is performed sadhana, one is saved, one is protected. How? In this life, anyway, one is already performing sadhana, one is away from bad habits and all these things. What about in the next life? Nahi kalyanakrit kachit durgatim tata gachati. One who has done the auspicious work, kalyanakrit, those who have done kalyanakrit, durgatim na gachati, will never attain durgati. But what kind of sadgati they will attain? First of all, after death, prapya punya krutam loka nushitva shashati mahim. Sama. They go to Swarga. They will have nice time there for long time because they have done elaborate Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Tapasya, Vairagya, all these things. They deserve a better standard of life. So first of all, they go to Swarga. They have a better standard of life for many years. Then Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Jayate. Such kind of incomplete yogis take birth in the Suchinam or Srimatam, either in the religious family or in the wealthy family, where they can start bhakti without much worries about earning their livelihood. So that is what happens. And if some people who have performed more sadhana, who are almost on the close proximity to perfection, then what happens to them? Atava yogi nameva kule bhavati dhimatam ta etaddi durlabataram loke janma yadishrisham. Such kind of yogis attain birth in great devotees, great transcendentalists, which is very difficult, but they will attain. So such a birth is more difficult to obtain in this world. It is very rare to get such a birth. Srila Prabhupada mentions both in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita also, our spiritual master and our good self had the good fortune of getting birth in a great devotee, in the family of great devotee, so that they could practice bhakti from the very birth. So in that way. Then, by taking birth either in Suchinam Srimatam Gehe or taking birth in Kule Bhavati Dhimatam, what will happen? What is the special privilege that they attain? Tatratam Buddhi Samyogam Labate Purvadhayikam Yata Te Cha Tato Bhuya Samsiddhau Kurunandana. In those two situations, he attained the status of his previous birth along with faith in Paramatma and strives again for complete perfection, O son of the Kurus. Since one is taking birth in the religious family Suchinam, or taking birth in the wealthy family Srimatam, or taking birth in Kule Bhavati Dhimatam, Yoginam Kule Bhavati Dhimatam. So from the very birth, uh, you will get the good fortune of facilities to practice bhakti. And more than that, wherever he left, from there he will start. Labate Purva Deikam. So wherever his previous consciousness was there, from there he will begin. With that consciousness, he will continue to practice sadhana. Same way, just like when Bharata Maharaj left his body and appeared as a deer, he remembered his previous life and practiced sadhana where he left. Similarly, when he is born as a Brahmana boy in the Brahmana family, he remembered his previous two lives as Bharata as well as a deer. And whatever consciousness he attained by the austerities performed by the deer, from there he will practice. So there are two aspects we have to see. One is deer. Deer has no obligation to act like the human beings among the human society. Even though deer may live among the human society, but the deer does not have any obligation to act like the human beings. The deer can act the way deer can act, the way it want. That is one thing. Second thing, one of the predecessor of our Bharat Maharaj, not predecessor, his own father, after taking unto renunciation, what kind of lifestyle he led? As Rishabdeva taken to Vanaprastha order and he became Avaduta and traveling everywhere without clothes and with full beard and all Pichashavat, Unmadavat, Jadavat. So like that. And he, after accepting Ajagara Vritti, was lying down at one place outside the city, at the outskirts of the city, and eating there only, eating like a deer, eating like an animal, not using the hands. He would lie down only. If somebody gives food and keeps the food at the close to the hand, close to the head, he would drink with the tongue, he would eat with the tongue, he would not use hands, and he would pass stool and urine there itself and lie down there itself. So like that. Just like animals also pass stool and urine there itself and sit there only, sleep there only. Like we can see cows, bulls, and dogs and all. Buffaloes especially too much. So may not be exactly like a deer and may not be exactly like Rishabhadev, but he adopted the culture of deer and Rishabhadev in this lifetime. Previously, he was acting like a best of the human beings, the more compassionate personality, and he became compassionate toward the deer cub, and he forgot everything what he was doing. And this time, he don't want to go through such a mistake. He was super careful. So he will act in this life like a deer, or like he is one of the predecessor, that is Rishabdev. Not exactly like Rishabdev without clothes, but wearing improper clothes because since he is in the family, the parents are insisting, so he was wearing improper clothing and eating whatever is given, just like people whatever gave would go give to Rishabdev, or deer would eat whatever it gets. It does not demand. No, I want this, I want that. No, deer will never demand. So in that way, he was eating only just to maintain the body and soul together. Otherwise, internally in the core of the heart, just like Rishabdev was completely absorbed in Lord Vasudeva within the core of his heart, indifferent to the external insults, external scoldings, external beatings, and external people would throw off upon him all the dust, mud, stool, urine, all the foul air, and all. He was indifferent. Same way, our Bharata Maharaj also will be completely indifferent. So, like that, he will live this life. That will be explained in the future verses. Yes, please read the translation.
Due to his being especially gifted with the Lord's mercy, Bharata Maharaja could remember the incidents of his past life. Although he received the body of a Brahmana, he was still very much afraid of his relatives and friends who were not devotees. He was always very cautious of such association because he feared that he would again fall down. Consequently, he manifested himself before the public, I as a madman, dull, blind, and deaf, so that others would not try to talk to him. In this way, he saved himself from bad association. Within, he was always
Hare Krishna, other devotees who are kindly mute.
Within, he was always thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord and chanting the Lord's glories, which save one from the bondage of fruitive actions. In this way, he saved himself from the onslaught of non devotee associates.
So, since he became lax in his practices in the previous life when he was Bharata, so this time he does not want to do such a mistake. He want to be super alert, for which he adopted a new kind of lifestyle. In that life as a Brahmana boy, fearing the association of his family members, even he does not want to mingle closely with his family members. He always remembered the lotus feet of the Lord, which destroys the bondage of karma. By hearing about and remembering their qualities, he would only sit next to his brothers or father only when they are discussing about Lord Vasudeva. Otherwise, if they are busy talking about how to maintain the family, this, that, all these things, he would simply slip away from that place. Fearing obstructions to his progress, spiritual progress, and remembering his previous two lives by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, he assumed the appearance of dull minded, blind, deaf, and mad for the public. So, for the family members and for the public in general, he would act himself like a Unmatta, Jada, Anda, Bhadira, Swarupena. Unmatta means mad, Jada means dull minded, Anda means blind, Bhadira means deaf. So the mad came here, the mad should come the first. So like a madman, like a dull-minded, like a fool. Jada means foolish, kind of. Anda is blind and Badira is deaf. When people say something, even though you would hear, he would not respond. The people think that he is deaf man. He can't hear like that. He especially held the lotus feet of the Lord, whose remembrance and hearing destroys the bondage of karma. He showed to the people that he was a madman. Just like Lord Rishabdeva acted, Unmattavat, Jadavat, Madiravat, Andavat. So he also acted. There it is said he was also Muka. Rishabdeva was not even speaking anything. Muka means dumb person. He can't even speak. Deaf and dumb we say, na? So that is also here. At least he would speak. Bharata would speak there. Rishabdeva would not speak even one word. So in that way. Yes. Next.
The Brahmana's father mind was always filled with affection for his son, Jada Bharata, Bharata Maharaja. Therefore, he was always attached to Jada Bharata. Because Jada Bharata was unfit to enter the Garastha ashrama, he simply executed the purificatory process up to the end of the Brahmacharya ashram. Although Jadabharata was unwilling to accept his father's instructions, the Brahmana nonetheless instructed him in how to keep clean and how to wash, thinking that the son should be taught by the father.
So though he was acting like a dumb, deaf, the blind, and unmatta, jada, but father, how can the parents will neglect? Parents will never neglect. Then more than that, he was a young child. He was the twin child of the second wife. He was the youngest child. The eldest children were already grown up and they educated. They are able to do on their own. Since this fellow is not able to do anything on his own, the father was concerned about his well-being. So he would spend more time teaching this small child. The father, whose mind was bound by fatherly affection to his young son, performed his samskaras for brahmachari life up to graduation according to the scriptural rules. And thinking that a son should do these things as taught by the father, taught him the rules for cleanliness and such as achmana, necessary for one who has received the sacred thread through the son, though the son was unwilling. So, just like a father who teach all good manners to children, same way he was teaching all good manners to his son Bharata. But Bharata was not interested in understanding and following the worldly good manners. He was not interested in all the worldly goodness and all. The son was not willing to perform these actions because he thought himself unqualified, since he was constantly realizing the form of the Lord. The son, learning from the father, should perform these acts. But he was interested. Why should I perform all these things? Let me simply meditate on the Lord. Like Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. So this is the kind of consciousness displayed by Brahmana Bharata. So he was not interested in the daily duties and other things and all. He was simply meditating on the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Next verse. Someone please read.
Jadabharata behaved before his father like a fool, despite his father's adequately instructing him in Vedic knowledge. He behaved in that way so that his father would know that he was unfit for instruction and would abandon the attempt to instruct him further. He would behave in a completely opposite way. Although instructed to wash his hands after evacuating, he would wash them before. Nonetheless, his father wanted to give him Vedic instructions during the spring and summer. He tried to teach him the Gayatri mantra along with Omkara and Vyakruti. But after 4 months, his father still was not successful in instructing him.
The father was trying to teach many things, but he does not want to waste time in learning all these things. In that way, Bharata performed the actions in reverse order in the presence of his father. He would do always opposite so that his father one day will give up. So That with that intention he would do opposite. Desiring to teach him the Vedas, he first attempted to teach him the Gayatri mantra during the spring and summer months. But Bharata could not learn the mantra, only incompletely. So he wanted to make him a proper Brahmana. For that, one need to learn the Vedas, one need to understand how to pronounce the Vedas, etc. etc. He was trying to teach him, especially during the spring and summer months. So because those time the timings are very good, so the father would spend these 4 months especially dedicated to his son, because rest of the year where the like nowadays like schools are closed during the summer season, so other people are all kind of on chutti mode, and the father would be free. Otherwise, rest of the year he would be busy teaching other children. When he was not teaching other children, when he was free, he would spend that time exclusively for his youngest child, to teach him all Vedic mantras, so that he will become Brahmana and he will be able to live, make his livelihood eventually. That was the concern of a father. That is the concern of every father. Every father will be concerned about their children in this way only. That is very natural. Bharata, in order to make his father give up his enthusiasm for teaching him, perform all the actions in the opposite order. He would perform achamana and cleansing with earth before passing urine and stool rather than after. Like normally we pass the attend nature calls and then take bath, applying bathing soap and all. So first of all, he would wash his hands and legs, then he would go to pass stool. Afterwards, he would not take bath. So for a Brahmanical family, that will be very muchi. It is not pure state. It is contaminated state. But Bharata would do like that so that his father or his other family members stay away from him. So in that way. However, this was actually correct for Bharata, because Bharata is already beyond the modes of material nature. Is already Jivan Mukta platform. Is already liberated person. For a liberated person, he does not have to follow the worldly rules and regulations. So in that way, the father thought, I will teach him the Vedas starting in Shravana month after preparation. Now I will teach him the Gayatri. So Shravana is like after rainy season began. Chaitra, Vaishaka, Jyeshta, Ashada, Shravana. So Chaitra, Vaishaka, Jyeshta, Ashada, these are the 4 months during which generally the chutti time is there. So when I will teach the Vedas to the other students in general, that time my son also will be part of that students. But before them, I'll teach him. Before that, during summer break, I will teach him Gayatri. So he was teaching him Gayatri mantra in the summer vacation, the 4 months. For 4 months, starting with Chaitra, he taught him the 3 lines of the Gayatri. But Bharata could not remember it completely. He taught him in an incomplete manner. So 4 months, the father tried to teach him Gayatri, but even in spite of 4 months, the son could not learn it properly. So here Gayatri means like Gayatri mantras, all the Gayatri mantras. So yes, next verse.
The
The Brahmana father. Okay, continue, Mataji.
Continue, Prabhuji.
The Brahmana father of Jada Bharata considered his son his heart and soul, and therefore he was very much attached to him. He thought it wise to educate his son properly, and being absorbed in this unsuccessful endeavor, he tried to teach his son the rules and regulations of brahmacharya, including the execution of the Vedic vow, cleanliness, study of Vedas, the regulative methods, service to the spiritual master, and the method of offering a fire sacrifice. He tried his best to teach his son in this way, but all his endeavors failed. In his heart, he hoped that his son would be a learned scholar, but all his attempts were unsuccessful. Like everyone, this Brahmana was attached to his home, and he had forgotten that someday he would die. Death, however, forget was not forgetful. At the proper time, death appeared and took him away.
Hmm. So like this, couple of examples are shown. Like this, in every aspect, his father was very much keen to teach his son, because parents are concerned about how the children will live, make their living in the future. So they want to teach them in a particular profession so that the children are settled. That's what, being a Brahmana, he wanted to make his son Brahmana so that he can chant mantras, he can perform yajna, he can make his livelihood, something like that. Being very attached to his young son, thinking that the son should be taught by the father, though his desire was useless, he taught his son the brahmachari activities of cleanliness, study, vows, following rules, accepting guru, sacrifice, and service. Though Bharata was not willing, without fulfilling his desire, he died in his house by the influence of vigilant time. Even though he was trying to teach, huh? If he was not interested, his son was not interested in becoming a householder, at least he should continue as a brahmachari. He should be able to do some Vedic samskaras. He should be able to worship the deity. So such kind of things father was trying to teach him. So by the way, before he could successfully teach his son, the father left his body, because father also very aged, na. Through first wife he had 9 children, second wife he had 2 children, like long lifetime already passed. So he left his body. The father had more attachment for his young son than for his life. He instructed his son, who did not respect these things. He tried to teach all the things that are necessary for a living in this world to his son. But the son, since he is already Jivan Mukta, did not show any interest in learning all these things. The cause for his enthusiasm to teach him was explained previously. That was, a father is responsible to teach good manners to son. That is again stated. The son should be taught by the father. In the first line it is said. So Upasamhrita means he died. He died in some time and the son was left alone. So in that way. So now, till now at least, the father was taking care of the son very nicely, because parents will take care, whatever may be the son situation, the parents will never discard their children. Whatever situation they may be, their parents always love. But after the parents died, how the brothers treated him, how the brothers took care of him, that is explained in the next verses. So it is said that thereafter the Brahmana's younger wife, after entrusting her twin children, the boy and girl, to the elder wife, departed for Patiloka, following her husband. So the same concept. When the husband dies, the wife enters into Sati. So it seems that both the wives are still there. So the second wife voluntarily chose to enter into Sati, because she said, I only have 2 children, you have 9 children. So since anyway you will take care of the 9 children, please take care of my 2 children also. I will take Sati. Just like Pandu Maharaj had 2 wives, Kunti and Madri. Madri said same thing. So since I only have 2 children, you have 3 children, you please take care of my children also. And I will go with my husband, because of me only my husband died. So it is my responsibility to go with him, entering Sati. Same way here, the youngest wife entered Sati and went Pati Loka. So Pati Loka means the Loka where Pati went, wherever her husband went to some Loka, to the same Loka she also went by executing Sati. Then what happened? After the death of their father, the 9 elder brothers, not understanding the position of Bharata. Actually, Bharata is a transcendental personality, is already Jivan Mukta. This is not understood by elder brothers. The elder brothers would only saw him as a madman, as a good for nothing, useless person, dumb, deaf, yet like that they saw. And being knowledgeable of the Veda, of the 3 Vedas, but not knowing the highest truth, gave up trying to teach Bharata, thinking that he was dull-witted. Even though they studied the three Vedas, but they have not understood the essence of the Vedas, and they could not gauge the consciousness of Bharat Maharaj. Thus, they simply ignored their younger brother. The father tried to teach him every respect, but the brothers did not care to teach him. So they completely neglected. When the father who desired to teach him died, they desired to stop teaching him. Or Navrustana can be an aorist form. They gave up trying to teach him. They were not as determined to teach him as their father was. He was free of bodily identification of the dualities of happiness and distress caused by respect or disrespect. But on the other hand, Bharata Maharaj, they are not only stopped teaching him, they do not even respected, they do not even cared for, they do not even care Bharata Maharaj. So they complete treated him like a useless, good for nothing person. But Bharata Maharaj did not mind whether they respected him or whether they did not respect him, whether they scolded him or criticized him. Bharata was completely indifferent to all these external respect and disrespect. As we study in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that mana apamana. So one should be indifferent to the mana and apmana. So same way Bharat Maharaj is behaving like that. This is how his brothers were treating with him. But they not only stopped there. So being Brahmana, they must have had some land, the tilling activities, other activities in relation to the field. Because since he was a strong and stout person, they would engage him in doing all the labor, hard labor. That will be explained in the next verses. So please read the translation of 9 and 10.
Degraded men are actually no better than animals. The only difference is that animals have 4 legs and such men have only 2. These two-legged animalistic men used to call Jada Bharata mad, dull, deaf, and dumb. They mistreated him, and Jada Bharata behaved for them like a madman who was deaf, blind, or dull. He did not protest or try to convince them that he was not so. If others wanted him to do something, he acted according to their desires. Whatever food he could acquire by begging or by wages, and whatever came of its own accord, be it a small quantity, palatable, stale, or tasteless, he would accept and eat. He never ate anything for sense gratification because he was already liberated from the bodily conception, which includes one to accept palatable or unpalatable food. He was full in transcendental consciousness of devotional service, and therefore he was unaffected by the dualities arising from the bodily conception. Actually, his body was as strong as a bull's and his limbs were very muscular. He did not care for winter or summer, wind or rain, and he never covered his body at any time. He lay on the ground and never smeared oil on his body and took a bath. Because his body was dirty, his spiritual effulgence and knowledge were covered, just as the splendor of a valuable gem is covered by dirt. He only wore a dirty loincloth and his sacred thread, which was black kiss. Understanding that he was born in a Brahmana family, people would call him a Brahmabandhu and other names. Being thus insulted and neglected by the materialist people, he wandered here and there.
When ordinary people, two-legged animals. So Sukadeva Goswami is calling, because people could not identify the greatness of Bharata because they were mistreating him as if animals who are full of ignorant. So Sukadeva Goswami addressing all other people like two-legged animals. Yada prakrite dvipada pashubihi. When ordinary people who are like two-legged animals addressed him as mad, dull, deaf, and dumb, he replied suitably. They would say that you are mad. He would reply, you are mad. They would say you are dumb. He would reply, you are dumb. He would act like a mad person so that people does not interfere in his meditation. So like that. When engaged in work, he worked as others desired. So like, so Prabhupada says, who is crazy? So outside people say devotees are crazy, devotees will say outside people are crazy. But who is really crazy? So when Bharata Maharaj would say that you are mad, actually the people in general are mad. They are madly running after material sense gratification. That is the real madness. So in the, what he would say is not actually wrong. When they would say you are deaf, he would reply that you are deaf because people are deaf. They are not able to hear the Vedic literatures. So in that way they are deaf. So he was not at all wrong. So in that way, when engaged in work, he worked as others desired, either as a slave or for wages. So people engage him. Yeah, come, we will give you some food. Today you do this work. He would do it. He would eat stale food or excellent food, a little or a lot, by begging or by whatever comes of its own accord, not for the satisfaction of his senses, but just to maintain the body and soul together. Sometimes people would give him stale food, sometimes they would give him nice fresh cooked food, sometimes people would give him little bit, sometimes people give more. Sometimes when nothing is there, he would beg, he would go to somebody home and he would beg, they will feed something. Other time people only would bring and give him something. So like that, his daily requirements are taken care. He had realization of Krishna with visible, pure, natural bliss and had destroyed all his karmas in his previous birth. Whatever leftover prarabdha karmas of previous lifetimes were there, they are completely destroyed. Within the core of his heart, he would continuously see Lord Krishna. Because previously also as Bharat Maharaj, he already in full of Bhava platform exhibiting Bhava symptoms, and time and again the Prema symptoms were coming and he was able to see the Lord Vasudeva. Because as deer and as Bharata also, as Brahmana Bharata also, he was performing lot of tapasya, lot of purification took place. Now he was really able to see Krishna continuously within the core of his heart. He was completely pure now. Strong as bull, he did not cover his broad, strong limbs in the cold, heat, wind, or rain season. Because Rishabhadev did not wear any clothes, and but Ramana Bharata might have wore only one cloth to cover his thighs part. Upper part of the body is free without any clothing, as we see in the book pictures. So in that way, like a great jewel, his effulgence from realization was covered by dust from not bathing or applying oil, and from sleeping on the earth. He would not have any bedding, any bed sheet, or any cot. He would sleep, he would lie down on the earth only outside underneath a tree, or in the caves, or somewhere here and there, in the veranda of the home, like that. And he may not take bath every day, he may not apply oils and decorate his body regularly. So his whole body was covered by dust. So whatever beauty is inside, it is covered by the dust outside. That's why people do not recognize his transcendental effulgence. His lips were covered with an old cloth, and his sacred thread was soiled. His hips were covered with an old cloth. So one leftover cloth is covering these hips, and there is a sacred thread which is completely dirty. He wandered about and was called a fallen Brahmana by ignorant people, Brahmabandhur. Since he was born in the Brahmana family, he was not able, since he was not following the Brahmanical culture, people would call him as Brahmabandhu, taunt him, calling him as Brahmabandhu, something like that. He was sometimes engaged by force without wages. At other times, they would give him wages. He was at all times not under the influence of karmas, which had been destroyed in his previous birth. All karma, prarabdha karmas are completely destroyed in previously only. He had attained realization of Lord Krishna with natural, pure, visible bliss. He was free of identifying his body with happiness and distress caused by dualities of respect and disrespect. Because of this, he did not eat for the pleasure of his senses. Even though people were mistreating him, he would think that, okay, this body is getting mistreated. I am not mistreated. I am not this body. So I don't have to be bothered with the mistreats and disrespect given to this body. This is called out of body consciousness. His limbs were uncovered and very strong. He slept on the earth. He did not rub oil on his body or take bath. Thus his effulgence arising from his realization was covered with dust. His sacred thread was soiled, dirty. So basically, even though Bharata Maharaj was fully elevated, people considered him as a completely mad person. That's how he protected himself, not being associated with people in general. Then, wanting food from taking wages for work from others and thus engaged by his brothers in farm work, he did the work but did not recognize level or uneven soil, less or more. So, like his brothers or his neighbors would engage him in agriculture activities. They would say that, okay, level the earth. Some place there would be like high and some place low, level the earth. People in general, they will understand wherever is high, that remove the mud and put in the dug. But he would do opposite. He would take more mud from the dug and put it in the elevated place. It would become more up and down. So people, instead of giving him any wage, they would scold him, they would beat him. So like that, he would act like incoherently in that way. He ate grains of rice, oil cakes, chaff, wormy beans, and rice burned at the bottom of the pot as if it were nectar. So basically, whatever is given to him, he would eat it as if the nectar. So he was not disturbed whether it is burnt food or spoiled food, this and that. No. If something is given, he would eat just to maintain the body and soul together. When he wanted food from wages, when his brothers engaged him, they thought, if we engage others all day in work and give only food, we can engage him in the same way without getting a bad name. So the brothers thought that since anyway this fellow will not study the Vedas and do chant mantras, let us engage him in field activity. We just have to feed him. We don't have to pay any money. And outside people also do not mind, because since he's our brother, we are engaging him in agriculture activities, our family activity only. So in that way, they engaged him in wallowing in the mud. He did not understand that by scattering the dirt, the field would become level, and that by digging it up, the field would become uneven. So he would not understand how to level the earth, how to dig the earth where it is elevated. He would do opposite. Pinyaka is the remainder after a machine takes oil from the sesame seeds. So whatever sesame seeds or groundnuts and all where they were given to Gani, after oil is extracted, whatever leftover, that is generally fed to the animals, and his brothers and family members would feed it into Bharat Maharaj. He would take it. Sometimes Fali Karana is chaff, that is also given. Kulmasa is bean eaten by worms, that beans without proper content is left, that is given to him. He would eat it. And the burnt remnants of the food also were offered to him. This type of food was given by his brothers to him. So especially his family members were mistreating him like anything. They would engage him in work, they would feed him the leftover food, spoiled food, useless food, burnt food, etc. 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 This is how he was living his life. So he was completely indifferent to the worldly comforts. In one sense, we should also come to this state. May not be the way we is living, but we should also become completely indifferent to these worldly comforts and worldly respect and honor. Then we will become completely detached from this world and will be qualified to go back home, back to Godhead. As long as we are anticipating For the worldly opulences, worldly pleasures, and worldly respect, fame, name, one will remain in this material world. So especially Lord Rishabhadeva and Bharata Maharaj, they are showing to us how to get out of this world. Otherwise, our attachment to this world will be very strong. It is very difficult to cut through. So in that way. Any questions till now? Is able to follow everyone?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Actually, I wanted to ask कि ये जो उनके भाई लोग उनके साथ गलत व्यवहार कर रहे हैं और भरत महाराज तो प्योर डिवोटी लेवल पे हैं, तो उनको उसका ऑफेंस तो मिलेगा ना प्रभुजी?
See, we know that he is a pure devotee. His brothers do not know that he is a pure devotee. His brothers are behaving on worldly norms. Even we also on the roadside, if we see a madman, how does we treat him? Same way his brothers are treating him.
बट प्रभु जी किसी को जाने अनजाने में भी तकलीफ दिया तो उसका पाप तो मिलेगा ना उसका? ये मेरा प्रश्न।
वो तो है, but it is not his their गलती ना. It is not their mistake. They are behaving normally. From the worldly point of view, they were behaving normally only because they are not the parents to show over compassion. They are like, okay, brother, normal people, outside people here and there. So that is the nature of this world. But may not be everyone will be like that, but in general, people will be like that only in this world.
Okay, so they will get the punishment, but they are behaving general. So it is not a big offense for them.
And it's like, it is a karma. We cannot call it as aparad, but it is karma. If we mistreat someone who deserves one's compassion, one gets it in return afterwards.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So at least here in this case of Bharat Maharaj, later on it is mentioned, see the great devotee. In spite of a great devotee sitting next to us, we have not taken his association seriously. That means we are the most unfortunate people. That unfortunate situation itself is the result of their mistreatment, and that's how Bharat Maharaj went back to Godhead, but the others did not go back to Godhead. They might have to work hard for many lifetimes. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. So that itself is missing the train. Your home is next to railway station, but you are always missing the train. So like that. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
So one day, the leader of the thieves, desiring a son, started a sacrifice with a human being as an offering to Bhadrakali. So in thieves community, for everything they worship Lord Kali. For going to rob someone, even here in this verse, they wanted a son who will be a great thief in the future. For that, he wanted to offer a Narabali unto Kali Devi. Vrishalapati means the leader of the Shudras or thieves. Alapata means that he began to sacrifice. So he wanted to offer Narabali to Kali Devi so that he will have a wonderful son. That was the yajna he want to perform, so that he will have a son who will lead the thieves community. The sacrificial human for the leader of the thieves had escaped by chance, and his followers were pursuing his path in the night. Generally, the Kali sacrifice and all will take place in the night time. Somehow, finding a good opportunity, the person who was supposed to be given as Narabali escaped from that place. So, running after that person, some of the followers of this leader, they came out of the gufa and searching for him here and there. Then, not catching him at midnight, covered by darkness, the thieves suddenly saw the son of the Angira Brahmana, who was protecting the fields from wild boars and deer scattered in a raised platform. We call it as mancha. So in the field there is a raised platform. On top of that they would sit and they would throw stones from there so that the birds will not disturb the paddy, will not eat grains and disturb. So he was like acting like a scarecrow. He was throwing the crows away here and there, being seated on the elevated platform. As he would shout, so hearing those shouts, these thieves came to that place and they saw only one person is there and they caught him for Narabali. The sacrificial human had by chance escaped. Bharata was seated on a platform in the end. So in that way. Considering that Bharata with faultless qualities would fulfill the purpose of their master, they tied him up with rope and with happy faces brought him with great joy to the temple of Kali. They would say that, my dear master, the thin fellow fled away, but we have got a thick fellow. He is very good for Bali. So this Bali will be complete, full, and this will like double Bali like that, like that. They were very happily uh, speaking the greatness of themselves that they could catch a big person for Narabali. So in that way, the priests bathed Bharata according to their rules, dressed him in a new cloth, decorated him with ornaments, sandalwood, garlands, and tilaka, and then fed him. Like we say na Bakrika Bali. So they especially decorate that Bakrika Bali so nicely. Same way, I think in the life first time, many people bathed him. Till now, his father or mother would have bathed him when he was young, but after many years, he was getting the first bath. Very nice bathing and night dressing, nice decoration. He was decorated with ornaments, sandalwood pulp, garlands, and tilaka. So, and they also fed him nice prasadam. Not prasadam, we can say nice food. They had him sit in front of Bhadrakali along with paraphernalia for animal sacrifice, including incense, lamp, garlands, papud rice, shoots, and fruits, to the sound of singing and beating of the drums. As we see in the dramas, na, they would beat the anaka, dundubi, etc., and then they would perform arati. Before offering Bali, they performed arati, and he was seated in front of Kalika Devi. But he was indifferent to all these things. He was simply meditating on Lord Vasudeva within the heart, within the core of his heart. Panaya means the priest of the thieves. Aha, Ahatena Vasasa means with new clothing. Vaishasha Samstaya means with arrangements for slaughter. The chief priest for the leaders of the thieves, desiring to please Kali with the blood of the sacrificial human, took up a sharp, fearful sword consecrated to Kali. So, in order to offer Bali, after bathing him, dressing him, decorating him, and feeding him, after making him sit in front of Kali, after performing complete Artika, he had taken that huge sword with which, in one slice, he had to cut off the neck of the person. So he took it, he raised up, he was about to hit on the neck of Bharat Maharaj. Then what happened? Had the low class men whose minds were contaminated with passion, pride, and wealth, with natures of passion and ignorance, were preparing to commit violence, making the troops of the Lord's Avatara unhappy. Kali, understanding that they are sacrificing Bharata, who was without enemy and the friend of all beings, was cruel and unauthorized even in emergency situation, suddenly burst out of the deity form with a flaming body and blinding light. So, what is the position of the thieves that is described here? Had the low class men whose minds were contaminated with passion, Rajoguna, pride, and wealth. They are simply interested in wealth. For the sake of wealth, they could create harm, they could cause harm to others, like anything. And when they were about to kill Durga Devi could not tolerate. Because what is the nature of Bharat Maharaj? Bharat Maharaj is Ajat Shatru. He has no enemies. And Bharat Maharaj is the well-wisher of each and every living entity. And such a harmless, pure devotee of the Lord is getting killed by the selfish people. How can Mother Kali, the first and foremost servant of Lord Vishnu, could tolerate it? The bursting the deity into two parts, she came out of the deity. Breaking the deity into two parts, she came out of the deity. When she came out, the whole area was brightened. Her whole body was like red flames. The whole area was burning, brightened, and making their eyes blind. Because in that huge brightness, they could not see what's happening around. That is what happened in that room. Veera Kulam means a group of devotees acting as an army. Kadatri Kritya means making unhappy. Understanding the actions being undertaken, Kali broke the form and emerged. As the deity Kali broke by the effulgence of Bharata. The word Eva indicates that Bharata was not cut by the sword. Violence is permitted to protect oneself during times of danger. However, killing Bharata was not permitted. So violence is allowed in order to protect dharma, but not every time. Only in emergency, violence is allowed. In general, violence is not allowed. But here, for the purpose of fulfilling their greed, they are committing violence that Mother Durga could not tolerate. So she came out. So in that way. She had a fearsome visage, burning with red eyes, just like Narsingadev appeared from the pillar, breaking the pillar into two parts, and he was very angry. The eyes are reddish like burning coals, and the mouth is wide open and roaring like thunder, and the nails are as sharp as a chisel. And he was very angry and fought with Hiranyakashipu. Same way, Durga Devi had a fearsome face, burning with red eyes, crooked teeth, and frowning brows, with which expanded by the force of her anger and intolerance to the offense to Bharata. In great anger, she released a loud laugh, indicating her desire to destroy the whole universe. She was very angry. She was loudly shouting, and in between, she was laughing, saying that you people do not deserve to live anymore. I am going to destroy everyone. Something like that. Like Pralayakala Rudra. She was shouting and laughing and dancing, etc. etc. Along with her followers, she began to drink the warm blood as liquor, as it flowed from the necks of the sinful thieves, whose heads she severed with the same sword. So, first of all, as Durga Devi, any village you see, a sword is kept in her hand. With the same sword, he cut off the neck of the main priest who was going to cut the neck of Bharat Maharaj. And then with she had manifested hundreds of arms. With one arm, she would hold the head of one person. With the other arm, she would chop off the neck. And from the head, the blood would drop off. So along with Durga Devi, her followers came. All lady Pishashis, lady ghosts, and lady Yakshinis, lady Rakshasis, lady Bhuta Preta Pishasha, they all followed after Durga Devi. And they also, as Durga Devi manifested hundreds of arms, with one arm she would held the hair of a thief, and with the other arms cut off the neck. And from that head, the blood is dripping. And all these followers of Durga Devi, Pichashini, Lankini, Dakini, Shankini, Keshini, and Yakshini, Rakshasi, Bhuta, Preta, Pichachi, etc., they would bring both the arms together and drink that blood for their full satisfaction. Even Sri Prabhupada writes that whenever people offer bali any animal in front of Kalika Devi or anything, that is not accepted by Kalika Devi. Instead, that is accepted by the followers of Kalika Devi. That Yakshini, Rakshasi, Lankini, Dakini, like that, there are um, so many this female companions of Durga Devi. They always follow her. Just like Lord Shiva is followed by Yakshas, Rakshasas, Bhutapita Pishashas, the male people, Durga Devi is followed by the female people. So they were all very angry as Durga Devi cut off the necks of all these thieves. As the blood was dropping down from the heads, they would collect that blood and drink. That's how they were all enjoying. Overwhelmed by intoxication, she began to sing loudly and dance with her followers and tossed the heads of the thieves around in play. After cutting off the necks of all the people, after her followers drank the blood to the fullest of their happiness, then she began to dance like a madman. And she would play with the so many heads. So many heads were in her hands. So she would throw them in front of the legs, and with the legs she would kick. So like that, she was enjoying with the heads at the balls, at the football or something like that. So in this way, she destroyed the entire area, all the thieves community along with the priest. She became angry, unable to tolerate the offense to Bharata. She had a face fearful with the energy of her red eyes, crooked teeth, the branches of her frowning eyebrows, which expanded by the force of her absorption in anger and intolerance at the offense of Bharata. Because she became very angry because an innocent Bharata is getting offered for no reason, for one selfish reason. She was so angry, he was so angry and began to cut off their necks. So like that. Hantu Kame Vedam means she desired to destroy the universe because of the offense to Bharata. One entity resides in that universe. Committing offense with violence to the devotee brings such a result to the offender. For brothers, they lost the good opportunity to associate with a great devotee. Because brothers have mistreated him, but some extent took care of him also. So in a small way, they kind of served him also. They will get some sukriti for that. But the thieves outrightly, without any discrimination, wanted to offer him as Bali, wanted to kill him. That cannot be tolerated by Durga Devi. So Durga Devi personally came and killed all the thieves completely. So please read the translation.
Sukdev Goswami then said to Maharaj Parikshit, O Vishnu Datta, those who already know that the soul is separate from the body, who are liberated from the invincible knot in the heart, who are always engaged in welfare activities for all living entities, and who never contemplate harming anyone, are always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who carries the Sudarshan Chakra, and act as supreme time to kill the demons and protect his devotees. The devotees always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, at all times, even if threatened by decapitation, they remain unagitated. For them, this is not at all wonderful.
O Parikshit, for the highest devotees who have severed the tight knot of identity with the body, who are friendly with all beings, who have no enemy, who are completely protected by the attentive Lord, Mahatmana Sumam Partha Davim Prakriti Ashrita. Davi Prakriti will take care of them. With his attentive chakra and his various moods, and who have taken shelter of his fearless lotus feet, it is not surprising that one can be undisturbed at the moment of having one's head cut off. Later on, we can see the same mood, unflinching faith on the protection of Supreme Lord by Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj also was exhibiting the same mood when Durvasa Muni created the fiery demon. The fiery demon was approaching him to kill, but Ambarish Maharaj was very happily welcoming that fiery demon to kill him. Here, and Bharata Maharaj is indifferent to what's happening to him. He was simply busy meditating within the core of his heart, his own worshipable Lord. So, for such a person, there is no need to worry. Lord is always eager to protect such a wonderful devotee. This time, Lord is protecting him through the via medium of Durga Devi. Because Durga Devi is the closest devotee of the Supreme Lord's younger sister only. How can she allow that a devotee is getting killed for no reason? It is not possible that Bharata would not be disturbed by his death. Is it not possible that Bharata would not be disturbed by his death and not show anger to his killers? People in general will become angry at such situation, but Bharata did not become angry. Why? Oh, Parikshit, it is not surprising that there is no disturbance when one's head is about to be cut off. For persons who are free of the tight knot of the heart, composed of identity with the body, who are friends of all beings, even their killers, and who are protected by the attentive Lord holding his tongue. Lord holding his hand, the attentive chakra, with his various moods of affection for his devotees, protecting the righteous and punishing the sinful. So basically, in the case of Bharat Maharaj, we can see if his head is cut off, he'll go back, come back to Godhead. That is very good. So he was not interested in living anymore in this world anyway. Whether he is killed, whether he is here, he meditates on the Lord, whether he goes to spiritual world, he may continue to meditate on the Lord. For such a Jivan Mukta person, there is no point in living or not living. That's why he is indifferent. He was only interested in meditating on the Supreme Lord. The same thing we can also see in the case of Prahlad Maharaj also. Even though Prahlad's father Hiranyakashipu was trying to kill him hundreds of times, but every time Prahlad was simply meditating on the Supreme Lord. If Lord wants, I will die. If Lord wants, I will live. So let me meditate on the Lord. I will do what I am supposed to do. If Lord wants me to live, Lord will protect or arrange someone to protect me. So like that, complete faith on the Krishna. So in this way, Bharata Maharaj was saved by Kalika Devi, Kali, from the thieves who were trying to offer him as Narabali. So like that. Any questions? Hare Krishna. Any questions from this chapter 9?
Prabhuji, this state is very sweet actually, but to reach there is a big journey. If somebody
No,
tell anything,
it appears as sweet. Very, very, very difficult. Person next to us, if he speaks something ill about us, can we tolerate?
So we feel like very bad, Prabhuji.
We not only feel like bad, we immediately revolt and shout at that person. We want to beat that person also sometimes. Where is our current situation and where is the situation of Bharat Maharaj?
So Prabhuji, by chanting on practicing,
Jamin to Asman difference is there.
yes. So Prabhuji, following this process, what we are doing, only like I know that is like far distant, but just my question that if following our sadhana very nicely, can we reach that level?
No, it's not like that. We need to follow sadhana and we need to cultivate this mood also. Both of them are parallel things. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi saishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Kirtaniya Sadahari is our sadhana. Along with that, we need to do other three also. Trunadapi Sunichena we should do, Taroriva Saishnuna we should do, Amanina Manadena we should do. While practicing sadhana, when we do all these three, then one day we may come to this state.
Got it, Prabhuji. Thank you.
I am saying to myself only. So it is very tough. It is not so easy. If once a person speaks something ill about us, sometimes we may not revolt, but within the mind we continuously think about that bad thing. Why like this? Why like that? Why like that question comes. And when that person comes in front of us, we don't even offer pranams. We are so angry. We don't exhibit, but we are very angry. So like that. Okay. Any other questions from other devotees? So now, Bharat Maharaja was associating with his brothers. Of course, his father was very much lovable to him, taking care of him, but his brothers are to some extent was indifferent to him because his brothers were in Rajoguna. They were interested in performing their worldly duties and earning their livelihood and being glorified as the expert Brahmanas and all. That is the characteristic of Rajoguna. And these thieves were in Tamoguna. They were only interested in Narabali, interested in stealing, interested in getting a son for who will be the leader of the stealers, something like that. That is Tamoguna. So Tamoguni people, when they offended him, they were destroyed. Rajoguni people, when they disrespected him, and they did not utilize his their good fortune of he being their associate, they are bereft of the good fortune. But in this chapter, we'll talk about a Satvaguni person coming in touch with Bharat Maharaj. Since he is Satvaguna, he recognized the greatness of Bharat Maharaj. Since he recognized, he became the worthy recipient of the mercy of Bharat Maharaj. So the third person, he will receive the mercy of Bharat Maharaj. That mercy will come the next chapter onwards. But this chapter will talk about the kind of mercy that he received. By what he became qualified himself to receive the mercy of a great devotee like Bharat Maharaj. That is revealed in this chapter. The 10th chapter describes how King Rahugana, understanding that the foul words he used to describe the carrier of the palanquin, Brahmana Bharata, were not suitable for a great sage, got down from the palanquin and praised Bharata. So, and begged forgiveness from Bharat Maharaj and praised Bharat Maharaj. And then there is a nice conversation between both of them. That is described in chapter 11, 12, 13, and 14. For 4 chapters, the wonderful conversation, very technical, very difficult to follow, very difficult to understand, but very important, very eye-opening this thing. That will be there for 4 chapters. That is one technical session in the entire Bhagavatam. Very tough to understand. So, this is also a small chapter. Let us see.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, Prabhuji, you mentioned like the thieves were in Tamogun and his brothers were in Rajagun. So, Prabhuji, but his father was also in Satogun, right? Like but he didn't get the benefit of like how Ravana got.
No, father went to Patiloka, na? Father went to Svargaloka. As a Brahmana, as the Vedic follower, their ultimate goal to some extent is to reach Svargaloka at the end of this life. That he achieved. Going back home back to Godhead will be next step. Yes, as a compassionate father, he took care of his son very nicely. He has done a lot of sukriti, for which he will get the benefit eventually. So, but since he is a Brahmanical family, as the worldly norm, the Brahmanas are very much dedicated to perform their Brahmanical duties. So, even though he is coming in the Angira line, he may not be a perfect devotee. He is a devotee, he is a Mishra Bhakta only, but he may not be a perfect devotee. He will. Now, since he took care of Bharat Maharaj, in the next life he will get good fortune of being with a great devotee and learning from a great devotee the importance of pure bhakti, and then he will practice bhakti and come back to Godhead. That may be little delayed, but he will get that good opportunity. He took care of his son nicely. For that, he will get that opportunity. In this life, he might not have gone to spiritual world because their association very small, na. He was doing all the Brahmanical activities perfectly, but may not be bhakti activities to that extent. What he was doing is like a mixed bhakti. So like that we can take.
Okay, so in future life he will progress and will eventually.
Definitely. Since he is father of Bharat Maharaj, definitely will get the good fortune.
Okay, thank you.
But one thing, in order to understand, appreciate, and able to receive some beneficial instructions from another devotee, one should be in goodness. Without being in goodness, one cannot. Even though passionate people may strike nice dialogue with the devotees, they may discuss, they may argue, counter argue, but they are not interested in learning something and following something. They only discuss for the sake of discussing and to show off they are also knowledgeable. That is the drawback of the passionate people. But we can see in the future chapters, even though Rahugana from the worldly norms is a great learned person and a great king, but when he saw a great devotee, he became submissive. He completely surrendered the feet of that great devotee and he received all the instructions, following which he attained perfection. That is the difference between the goodness and passion. The people in passion think that they are the highly knowledgeable people. In the goodness, even though one is a highly knowledgeable person, one is always thinks that I am a fool, number one. That humility factor will be there in the mode of goodness. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. For a person in the mode of goodness, that Vidya brings Vinaya. For a person in the mode of passion, Vidya brings pride. So, in that way. And for the person in the mode of ignorance, whatever little Vidya he has, that makes him foolish. So, that's how they act. So, let us see. Of course, whatever I mentioned that is there here, Bharata gave mercy to his brothers and neighbors who maintained him with the rice and oil cakes, even though they were materialists, filled with Rajoguna, by letting them see his farm for a considerable period of time. He was living with the brothers and neighbors so that they get to see him. By seeing him, they could develop some sukruti. Even though they were giving the leftover food, which may not be good state, good condition, but still they were serving him. That produced within them the Ajna Sukriti, which will benefit them in the future. So in that way, he also gave mercy to the leader of the thieves, even though he was in deep tamoguna, attached to sinful activities, and had beaten Bharata because he arranged for thieves' liberation in the next life, because he saw himself and Kali directly. All the thieves also were able to see Bharata Maharaj, and they were able to see Kalika Devi. Since they were killed by Kalika Devi, they are almost purified. If somebody is killed by Lord Vishnu, they will attain Sayajya Mukti immediately. If somebody is killed by Lord Shiva or Kalika Devi or like that, as I stated here, we can understand that they are purified of their karma, but they need to practice bhakti. So in the next life, they practice bhakti and attain perfection. Because they saw Bharat Maharaj, they had that good fortune, and they are killed by Kalika Devi, they had that good fortune. And he gave mercy to King Rahugana, who was in Sattva being a Jnani. Even though the king made him carry the palanquin, though a manifestation of Rajoguna suitable to the position of a king. Yes, there was one person was less to carry the palanquin. They employed Bharat Maharaj to carry the palanquin. Basically, a king supposed to serve the great devotee, but engaging him in service. But when he realized, he begged forgiveness. When he does not know, he employed. But upon knowledge, He did not do such a mistake. That's why the king is not at fault. That's why the king received the causeless mercy of Bharat Maharaj. Because the king did not show Rajas or Tamas and only shows Satvaguna, Bharata revealed Bhakti and Jnana to the king. Bharata did not reveal Bhakti or Jnana to his brothers or the thieves because they displayed Rajoguna and Tamoguna only mostly. The story begins in order to reveal this. It should be explained that though as Paramahamsa one should see everything equally, mercy manifests from one's being a great devotee. Some say the story is told to explain how, by the mercy of the Lord, Bharata's own bhakti, jnana, and vairagya were multiplied 100 times. Even though the great souls show their mercy to everyone, but we should make ourselves uh, susceptible to receive that mercy. Otherwise, the mercy is coming and we may remain indifferent. Like Rahuguna is, since he is in situated himself in the mode of goodness, he could realize that this person is a great soul. I need to receive mercy from him. He immediately received that. So, like this. This is what we can understand from this chapter. And by teaching till now, as Bharata Maharaja did not teach, as Deer did not teach, as Jada Bharata did not teach anybody, but right now, by teaching Rahugana, a qualified recipient, Bharata Maharaj's bhakti increased 100-fold. So a devotee when gives bhakti to others, others will get bhakti and one's own bhakti also will increase more and more. That's why a devotee should always distribute bhakti to one and all. That is the way one can make one's own spiritual progress more and more. So in that way. Yeah, someone please read the translation.
Sukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, after this, King Rahuguna, ruler of the states known as Sindhu and Sauvira, was going to Kapilashrama. When the king's chief palanquin carriers reached the banks of river Ikshumati, they needed another carrier. Therefore, they began searching for someone, and by chance they came upon Jadabharata. They considered the fact that Jadabharata was very young and strong and had firm limbs. Like cows and asses, he was quite fit to carry loads. Thinking in this way, although the great soul Jadabharata was unfit for such work, they nonetheless unhesitatingly forced him to carry the palanquin.
Hmm. So, Hare Krishna, please mute. So, it was late midnight, maybe early in the morning. That was the time Kalika Devi appeared and killed all the thieves. Then Bharata was left and he came out of that gufa and he was walking on the roadside. Early in the morning, not early, maybe around 9 a.m. or something like that, he was walking on the road. Then what happened? While the king of Sindhu and Savira, Rahugana, was traveling on the bank of the Ikshumati river, and the leader of his palanquin bearers was searching for extra bearer. By chance, they came upon Bharata, best of the Brahmanas. Basically, 4 people are required to carry the palanquin. But if 4 people only continuously carrying, they will become exhausted. They need to have few more people extra so that they can one after the other they can interchange. So while one person is taking some rest for a while, other people will carry, and he will carry, others will take rest like that.
कुछ नहीं तो कुछ तो पर ये नहीं, ये बहुत अच्छा दिख रहा है येलो से।
Hare
और लोकल
Krishna,
मोनेस्ट्री भी अच्छा।
Hare Krishna.
स्टेडियम भी नहीं दिख रहा।
So as the manager in charge for carrying the palanquin, even though he had some people, they needed some extra people so that intermittently they would exchange with others. So they were looking for someone who can be part of that. By chance, they came upon Bharata, the best of the Brahmanas, who had arrived there. He was well nourished, young, and strong like a bull or donkey. Thinking that he was suitable to carry the load, they forcibly engaged that great devotee along with the other carriers who were also engaged by force. So all these people are not like regular people who would carry the palanquin. They were going, whoever came on the roadside, the manager was engaging them in carrying the palanquin. This is actually not correct, but he was doing it. And king seated in the palanquin, and the king, in one sense, king is unaware of what's happening. That means, uh, in one sense, since he was did not show any interest to understand what's happening, he is accepting whatever injustice is happening to people in general. That was the fault of the king. So they caught hold of Bharata, and since he was looking very strong and stout like a bull or donkey, they engaged him in carrying the palanquin. Others were given rest. The great devotee, though not proper for such a job, carried the palanquin of the king. Rahugana was the king of the state of Sindhu and Savira. The leader of the carriers was searching for another carrier. Bharata had well nourished limbs and was strong. Thinking that he was capable, the leader of the carriers forcibly engaged him. So, seeing him, since he was very strong and stout, they thought he is very good for carrying the palanquin. They forcibly engaged. Even though Bharata was not interested in carrying the palanquin, they forcefully, अभी carry करेंगे नहीं तो मारेंगे ऐसा something like that. So very forcefully they engaged him in that. When the movements of the bearers became disarrayed, because Bharata moved only after looking 3 feet ahead, the king realized that the palanquin was moving irregularly. He spoke to the men carrying the palanquin. Oh, carriers, walk correctly. Why is the palanquin moving unevenly? So normally palanquin bearers look far, look front, look straight ahead and carry. They don't see what is there down below their feet, what hands are there and all. They may not see so much. But Bharata was looking down. He was only looking up to 3 feet area. If there are ants, he would go slowly. So other people, 3 people would go fast, he would go slowly. The palanquin would stop, not stop. And one current stops, another current is going ahead like that. It would create a jerk in the palanquin. The king feel uncomfortable, and he would say that, hey, what happened? All four of you walk equally. Why this disturbance? Something like that he would shout. Bharata moved only after glancing 3 feet ahead to avoid violence to ants. The movement of the men was not synchronized. Because of this, three of them are running faster and one person moving slower. So there is imbalance. As a result, the king time and again would get the jerkings, and king would shout, walk equally. Why so much jerking? Something like that. Hearing the censuring words of their master, the carriers became afraid of punishment and informed him as follows. The other three carriers, they are like common people, normal people. They are walking normally, coherently only. They are walking in synchronous order. And they said, no, no, my dear king, it is not our problem. This fourth fellow who recently joined is causing the problem. The carriers heard abusive words of the king. The fourth method among Sama, Dana, Beda, and Danda is punishment. So they are afraid of punishment and they began to complain about the fourth person. O king, we have not been inattentive and following your orders properly. You have been carrying properly. But the man who has now been engaged does not walk quickly. We are not able to carry the palanquin with him. So we three who are carrying from long time, we are carrying properly only. But this new fellow who joined just now is not able to walk proper same as we walk. That's why this imbalance, that is the cause of problem. So basically we are not the cause of the problem, but this new fellow is the cause of the problem. So in that way. So they complained to the king, we are not attentive, but following your orders, this new fellow is inattentive. So he is the cause of the problem. That's why they said. Hearing the words of his poor servants and understanding that the fault of one person will lead to a fault in all persons in a group due to intimate association, the king became a little angry because of his nature and fell under its control, even though he had received knowledge from the sages. Normally, kings are like tolerant, they are compassionate, they are gentle, everything is nice. And these palanquin bearers were the regular, some of them seems to be the regular palanquin bearers. The king kind of had that, what we can say, he is like their master and protecting them. Sometimes he had that right to chastise also. But king does not know who is this new fellow because he's inside the palanquin is closed. He does not see. So he also thought that this new fellow is also one among his regular members. So out of intimacy, because they are his regular palanquin bearers, he kind of chastised. Even though the king is knowledgeable person, received instructions from sages, he would supposed to be like uh, tolerant, but still, by the will of the providence, he began to chastise this new fellow. His mind covered by passion, he spoke to Bharata, whose spiritual power was covered like a fire covered by ashes. So Bharata externally looking like ordinary man, but his being devotee is not well obvious. So treating him or thinking him as a normal person, so the king began to joke or sarcastically, speak to him in a sarcastically. So this verse is very sarcastic way. He kind of mildly chastises the palanquin bearer, the Bharat Maharaj. He says, "Aho kashtam bratar vyaktam kuru parishranto dirgam advanam eka eva uhivan suchiram nati pitva na samhanango jarasa chopadruto bhavan sake no eva para eta sangattina iti." So basically, since Bharata was looking very strong and stout, since Bharata just joined, but other three are lean compared to Bharata, and other three were carrying the palanquin for a long time. Seeing all these things, he speaks in a sarcastic way. "Oh, brother, it is clearly difficult. You are very tired. You have traveled a long path. For a long time, you are carrying this load alone, and you are not healthy, and you do not have strong limbs. You are afflicted by old age." So, sarcastically, only the king is speaking. Actually, in one sense, you are tired. You just joined, so how can you be tired? You are traveling long path, no? You just joined. You are not carrying for a long time. That is true. Yeah, that is the way. And you are healthy. You are not healthy. No, he looks very healthy and do not have strong limbs, but he has strong limbs. So basically, he's taunting him. The other workers do not cooperate with you. It seems that you alone carrying the entire weight of the palanquin, and all three are not cooperating with you, and you are alone struggling a lot to maintain the weight of the palanquin and carrying it. In this way, though abused badly, Bharata continued to carry the palanquin silently as before. Since he was situated in Brahmabhuta platform and was not covered by the false conception of I and mine in his final body, not made of the gross elements, senses, karma, and antakarana, not produced by Maya, a body which was real belonging to Vaikuntha. Even though Bharata apparently seems to be situated in the material body, but according to his realizations, his body is no more material, is completely spiritual. And the spiritual body is not fit to be engaged in material activity. Still, in spite of engaging him in that activity, and he was scolded badly, but still, since he is Atma Rama, he did not respond. He continued to carry the palanquin silently. Now, since for Bharata Maharaja, the king and the ant both are same, both are the living sparks of the Supreme Lord, both should be respected properly. It is not that this Jiva is in the kingly body, so he should be given highest respect. Another Jiva in the hand's body should be given highest respect, not like that. For him, Samoham Sarvabhuteshu Namodveshe Sinapiya, which is the quality of Paramatma, which become the quality of Jivan Mukta. What was that verse? Brahmabhuta Prasannatma Na Sochati Na Kankshati Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu. He sees all the living entities equally only. He does not offer respects because of the external position. A Brahmabhuta platform, Brahmabhuta Vyakti becomes indifferent to the external situations. Both are Jivas, both are the living sparks of the Supreme Lord, so both deserve same respect. So in order to carry one person, I don't want to kill another person. That's how he was looking for the ants. So even though the king scolded him, he continued slowly and also continued the same method. So like that. That is the nature of Bharat Maharaj. The king addressed him saying that as brother with sarcasm. So though he was not a brother, king would never treat such a person as brother, palanquin bearers, but he is calling him as brother. Sangatina means associates. By taking the opposite meaning of the words, the king criticized Bharata. You are not tired because you have just started carrying the palanquin. You are well nourished with strong limbs and you are young. You are showing deceit to me, the king, by saying, I cannot carry the palanquin in a regular way with these other carriers, even though they are moving in a unison. The other three are actively carrying the palanquin, even though they were carrying it for a long time, they were tired, they were weak. But you, on the other hand, you are very strong, healthy, stout, and just joined. You are not even tired, and you are not carrying along with them the same speed as them. So what is this? Though he was abused, he remained silent and continued to carry the palanquin. The reason is given because he was not covered with a false conception of I and mine in his final body, made up of the five gross elements, the senses, pious and sinful results, karma. Though he was abused, he remained silent and continued to carry the palanquin. The reason is given, he was not covered with the false conception of I and mine in the final body, because his body is made up of transcendental elements. That man, buddhi, ahankara, chetana, indriya, they are all transcendental now, which was insubstantial since he had no relationship with it. Though it was real, he had attained Brahmabhuta platform. He is already in Brahmabhuta platform. He is completely indifferent to his material existence. He was simply carrying it, but he does not want to kill ants for the sake of carrying the king. Actually, Bharata Maharaj, like Sukadeva Goswami, had an indestructible eternal spiritual body. Because of the arousal of prema at this time, he actually did not have possessiveness for anything except the Lord. However, because of not attaining direct service to the Lord in that body at that moment, he manifested humility produced from increased longing and therefore did not want to offer his sense of I to the Lord. Though he attained Prema platform, but he is not getting the direct service of the Lord. That is only possible when you go to Supreme Lord. So when that happens, you don't know. That's why he does not have any spiritual I-ness to say that I am the servant of the Supreme Lord. He does not want to reveal to the king that I am a devotee of the Lord. He remained silent. He want to hide his own internal consciousness. So in that way. Because of this, Bharata made a show of having a material body, even though he was full of knowledge. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami also describes him as if he had a material body. if one takes the spiritual meaning of the words, the last phrase appears to mean in his final body made up of gross elements, senses, karma, and antakarana produced by Maya, a body which was insubstantial, though having a particular appearance. So basically, even though he is liberated, but since he did not attain the personal service of the Supreme Lord, even though his body is completely transcendental, he manifested his body to be like a material body, himself to be like a ordinary person. He remained silent. He remained tolerant. That is the way he is behaving with the king. However, it should be explained that in his real opinion is that Bharata had a spiritual body. Thus, the phrase actually means in his eternal body that remained after all previous bodies had been destroyed, which was not made up of material elements, senses, karma, and antakarana. But Sukadeva Goswami indirectly indicating that no, Baba, even though he is behaving like the material person, but he is completely transcendental. His body is also completely transcendental. That we should understand. Like that, Sukadeva Goswami was telling. Since his body was completely transcendental, it was mentioned previously also. The transcendental body no need to follow the rules of the material world, which are very much required for the material body. For material body, we should take bath after we get up. We should take bath after we pass stool and urine and all. So there are so many rules and regulations for the material body. Since they are not required for the spiritual body, Bharata was not following the rules of the material body. In that way, he was not Muchi. He was completely pure. So in that way, his situation is mentioned. The body was completely absolute, since it was devoid of prarabdha karma. That body possessed Vaikuntha Loka. His body is equal to the body of the Vaikuntha Vasis. That is his constitutional position now. He simply acted like a material person out of humility arising from prema. He had no sense of identification with me and mine. So, since the Lord had to give him personal service, so he is acting like a normal human being, even though he already attained Vaikuntha consciousness. So, like that, his state is described. That's why he did not mind even though king scolded him. Just like he did not mind even though his brother scolded him, even though the villagers scolded him, people in general taunted him. He did not mind any time because he was in transcendental position. Please, anyone read the translation?
Thereafter, when the king saw that his palanquin was still being shaken by the carriers, he became very angry and said, "You rascal, what are you doing? Are you dead despite the life within your body? Do you not know that I am your master? You are disregarding me and are not carrying out my order. For this disobedience, I shall now punish you just as Yamaraja, the superintendent of death, punishes sinful people. I shall give you proper treatment so that you will come to your senses and do the correct thing."
Now, the king will respond. Thereafter, when the king saw that his palanquin was still being shaken by the carriers, he became very angry and said, so till now he was speaking sarcastically, but still say, in spite of that, same thing has happened. The king felt bad. In spite of I gave order, still you have so audacity to not to follow my orders. How dare you? Like the king became very angry. He began to speak. You fool! What are you doing? Are you dead? Despite the life within your body, you are disregarding me and are not carrying out my order. I have a remedy for your inattention. Just as Yamaraja punishes the people in general, so that you will come to your senses. Even though when I give order, you dare not to follow my order. Looks like you want to receive, you want to go to Yamaraj. I'll punish you and to the death. You'll go to Yamaraj then. Something like that, the king began to speak strongly. In this manner, the king spoke incoherently. The king is saying that you are carrying the palanquin incoherently. But actually, the king, out of passion, became incoherent in his consciousness. He began to utter without understanding who is who. He is uttering big, big words against someone who does not even deserve to carry the palanquin. First of all, he does not deserve to be carrying the palanquin. And second, you are scolding him. It is not at all bad. That's why king is said to be incoherent. So the king is speaking incoherently because he was thinking himself as a king, thinking himself as a learned, while abusing the perfect devotee out of pride combined with passion and ignorance. The powerful Brahmana Bharata, with a slight smile and with no pride, then also spoke to the king, who did not know much about the conduct of a great yogi, who was the friend of all beings and who was situated in Brahman. So, Bharata Maharaj is a great yogi. He is already in Brahman platform. He was in Samadhi state, unable to understand all these things about Brahmana Bharata. The king expressed his anger towards Bharata Maharaj. Now, Bharata Maharaj will respond. Because the king is thinking that himself is learned, and of course, in one sense, in general, the king was good only. But today, because of that inconveniences, he lost his tolerance and he became little bit angry. It is circumstantial, and this is not the general behavior of the king. Circumstantially, because he is really causing inconvenience to him, he became little angry. So in that way, because why? How can a king will expect a normal palanquin carrier will be in a state of great learned sage? Generally, that is not possible. That is general assumption. With that assumption, king began to shout at him. So in that way, abaddam means incoherent. Anuvidhena means mixed with. The king had criticized the perfect devotee, Bhagavat Priya Niketam. Bharata was the very form of being the friend of all beings. This means that he was merciful even to those who offend him. So Bharata showed already his mercy to brothers, neighbors, and even to the dacoits who wanted to kill him also. Now, the king only shouted at him, that too, Anjanami. So, the king thought that he was learned. He had a little knowledge, but thought he knew everything. The king did not know much about the conduct of great yogis, such as acting dull. This Bharata, though externally appearing to be like a dull person, but the king could not realize. Yes, there could be some people are really dull, some people are acting dull. That discrimination the king able to do, even though he was thinking that he was a great knowledgeable person, this knowledge he did not have. So that is what. Bharata smiled, thinking, the king thinks that he is a jnani, but he speaks like a fool. Like Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that you are speaking like a jnani while you are thinking like a jnani, but you are speaking like a fool. So what is this? So Lord Krishna was like smiling. Eva indicates that the smile did not manifest externally. Bharata actually smiled within himself. He did not make sound outside. Bharata was without pride in being a jnana. Even though he had little jnana, the king was proud that I know everything. I am the topmost learned person among the entire universe. Like that he thought. But Bharata, he knew everything, but he remained quiet, as if he does not know anything. So this is the difference between the one who has full knowledge, other one who has insignificant knowledge. So in that way. Now Bharata will respond. From 9 to 14, Bharata will also respond in a similar sarcastic way. May not be directly, but in a what we can say, not even sarcastic way, in a enigmatic way. For an ordinary person, very difficult to understand the meaning of this. But since king is thinking like he is a jnani, he gave a riddle. If king has some knowledge, he will be able to understand the meaning of the riddle. So something like that. He said, Brahmana uvacha
ब्राह्मण उवाच
त्वयोदितं वक्तुमविप्रलब्धम्
त्वयदितं व्यक्तम् अविप्रलब्धम्
भर्तु समे स्याद्यदि वीरभारा
भर्तु समे स्यात् यदि वीरभारः
गन्तुर्यदि स्यादभिगम्यादधिगम्य मद्वा
गन्तुर्यदि स्यात् अधिगम्य आधवा
पीबेति राशौ न विदां प्रवादः
पीबेति रसवनाविदं प्रवाद. Translation. The great Brahmana Jadabharat said, My dear king and hero, whatever you have spoken sarcastically is certainly true. Actually, these are not simply words of chastisement, for the body is the carrier. The load carrier by the body doesn't belong to me, for I am the spirit soul. There is no contradiction in your statements, because I am different from the body. I am not the carrier of the palanquin. The body is the carrier. Certainly, as you have hinted, I have not labored carrying the palanquin, for I am detached from the body. You have said that I am not stout and strong, and these words are befitting a person who does not know the distinction between the body and the soul. The body may be fat or thin, but no learned man would say such things of the spirit soul. As far as the spirit soul is concerned, I am neither fat nor skinny. Therefore, you are correct when you say that I am stout. Also, if the object of this journey and the path leading there were mine, there would be many troubles for me. But because they relate not to me but to my body, there is no trouble at all.
The translation itself is like a purport. Prabhupada writes huge translations for all these verses. So, but anyway, because the king spoke in a sarcastically, so taking the words spoken by the king, Bharat Maharaja replying, saying that, O king, what you have spoken is clearly without deceit. So what you have spoken is correct. Even though you spoke sarcastically, but it is not sarcasm, it is actually real. Only if the burden of the carrier belong to me, if the destination and path of the traveler belong to me, would your statements be sarcasm? So you said your body is weak, you're tired, you have been carrying long time. But who is this who you? Who is strong, who is stout, who is healthy, who is tired? So if we identify with the body, what statements you said may be false. Because this embodied person joined just now. He is looking very strong, healthy, he is not tired yet. So if I identify with my body, what you said is wrong. Since I do not identify with my body, what you said is right. To say I am well nourished is not the talk of a person in knowledge. So when we say that you are well nourished, who is well nourished? If the body is good, one person is good? Not necessarily. So the actual person is good when internally his consciousness is good. And Bharata is hankering for the service of the Lord, direct service of the Lord. He is in intense pain. In that sense, he is not well nourished. That statement is wrong. I will show mercy to king who thinks he has knowledge by defeating him with knowledge. The king is thinking that he is a knowledgeable person. So I will show the real knowledge to the king today. This is expressed by contrary statements. You have said that I am not tired and I would not come long way. That is not incorrect. And it is not sarcasm also. If the burden of the palanquin carrier belongs to me, then it would be sarcasm. That means if I identify with this body, then your words are sarcasm. Since I am not identifying with the body, it is the body which is carrying the palanquin. I am not carrying the palanquin. I am only a witness, as Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 says. Since I am different from my body, I am not the carrier. If the distinction of the traveler or the path of the traveler belong to me, then it would be sarcasm. If this body belongs to me, if this seva belongs to me, the seva being the carrier of the palanquin belongs to me, then what you said could be a sarcasm. I am neither Brahmana Bharata nor the palanquin carrier. So whatever is being said in relation to the palanquin carrier have nothing to do with that. Calling me well nourished belongs to the body of the living entities. It is not the talk of the persons in knowledge. A knowledgeable person will not talk in terms of the body. He only speaks in terms of the spirit soul. It is true that I am well nourished, but for me, as a conscious soul, it is a slander. Yes, the body may be well nourished, but the spirit soul is not it. Of course, in one sense, I am well nourished by my consciousness, but still I am in pain because I did not have direct service of the Supreme Lord. So, in that way, he said. So, from now till the end of this section, until 14th chapter, what things are presented are little technical to fathom. So, one need to be little attentive, little, what we can say, little vigilant to understand the meaning of this. These are like very logical statements. Directly, we cannot understand the meaning. So, we may need to read again and again to understand the meaning of these words. And then he further continues to speak until 14th verse. Let us see this one verse for today. Taulyam karshyam vyadaya adayascha
स्थौल्यं कार्श्यं व्याध्य आद्यश्च
kshutrudbayam kalirichajaracha
क्षुत्रुद्भयं कलिरिच्छ जरा च
nidraratirmanyuraham madashucho
निद्रारतिं मन्युरहं मदश्रुचो
देहेन जातस्य हिमेन शन्ति
देहे न जातस्य हि मे न सन्ति. Translation.
Yeah, please, Ruji.
Yes, Raj. Fatness, thickness, bodily and mental distress, thirst, hunger, fear, disagreement, desires for material happiness, old age, sleep, attachment for material possessions, anger, lamentation, illusion, and identification of the body with the self are all transformations of the material covering of the spirit soul. A person absorbed in the material bodily conception is affected by these things, but I am free from all bodily conceptions. Consequently, I am neither fat nor skinny nor anything else you have mentioned.
Now he talks about the difference between the body and the spirit soul, the qualities of the body and the spirit soul. Strength, thinness, sickness, anxiety, hunger, thirst, fear, dissension, desire, old age, sleep, attachment, anger, false identity, illusion, and lamentation belong to a person born with a body. They do not exist for me. Those who identify with body will go through all these emotions. But for a person who is already liberated, does not go through any of these emotions. This is the difference between the conditioned soul and liberated soul. And you have been talking about my body is strong, healthy, tired, all these things. They are all applicable to a bodily conditioned person, bodily identified person. Not for me, a liberated person. Not only I am a well nourished, but no bodily quality belongs to me. One who is born with a body, the jiva who identifies with a body, certainly has all these qualities. I do not have, since I do not identify with the body. Those who identify with the body will go through all these emotions. But those who do not identify with the body, they don't go through any of these emotions, they don't identify with any of these emotions. So that is my situation. So when he said this, especially in terms of what is bodily identification, what is the spiritual identification, the king could understand, oh, this person is speaking logically and this person is speaking philosophically. So this person cannot be a ordinary person. Yes, king is already in the mode of goodness. He is like well studied and well educated and well taken care by the great sages. He has his own Kula Guru and all these people. So the king could understand this person is not a ordinary person. He is a highly knowledgeable person. So of course, three more verses are there which will reveal more and more clear-cut understanding of what is what. So which we will see in the next class, and also we'll continue with our discussion on 11th chapter. These are all highly technical. We'll try to spend good amount of time to understand them. Let us try to see. So yeah, any questions until now? Hare Krishna.
No problem.
No questions. Okay. So we'll stop here today with this 10th verse, and we'll continue from 11th verse onwards in the next class. So that is next week. So until then, thank you very much. Okay.
Prabhuji, no grand test, no, next week?
No, I have edited